Okay, for this episode, we are going into Schoology, so butlertech.schoology.com. We're going to navigate to weeks 7 through 9 animation. You can click on that, and then we're going to go to the SpongeBob SquarePants animation folder. And the first thing you need to do is download the SpongeBob SquarePants Photoshop document. So here's how you do that. Just click on it. You can see he's right there. And we will click on this one right here. And you'll see it starting to save itself right there. Once it's done saving, just double click on it. And it will automatically open up in Photoshop. Okay, so the requirements, and I will post these right here via the magic of video editing, but the requirements, in case you ever need to see them, will most likely be on the smart board, and they'll also be right here, SpongeBob requirements. So here's what we're going to be doing for this little project exercise. We're going to have him blink at least twice with no tween. Move his arms up to mouth at least once. Again, that's using no tween, and I'll explain that later. Must move eyeballs. You can tween or no tween, it's totally up to you, and I will go over that when I get there. Must have a speech bubble dissolve in and dissolve out with text. That's a tween. You're going to do your first digital watermark, and that's going to be one of your layers that you do. It also must be more than 20 frames, and I'll go over the number 7 here later. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going back to Photoshop. We're going to go ahead and get that watermark out of the way, and we'll just add that layer and forget about it. So we'll go to File, Open, and look for your watermark signature wherever you placed it. You click Open, and most likely it will open right on top of your SpongeBob. You can see up here on the tabs, that's where they are. So to get this onto there, I'm going to take this tab right here where it says watermark signature, click, drag, and let go just a little bit so you can see both of them at the same time. And using the move tool, which is a tool that we use a lot in Photoshop, that's why it's listed as the top tool. I'm going to click on this, and you can see it move. And I'm going to drag it right over here, and you can see the little white box with the plus sign. Once you see that, let go of your mouse button. Now we don't need this anymore, so we'll go ahead and close that. You can see it's really big, so we need to change the size to your watermark. So we're going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and then we can just make that smaller, and we'll put it, right here in the corner. That way, if you ever post this and people don't believe that you did it, you can just point to your watermark and be like, hey, I made it. It's right there. Okay, so you have this box here. You need to get rid of it. Either you hit the arrow key or enter on your keyboard. I hit enter. So now what we need to do is figure out, okay, we have 2 layers. We need to start naming our layers. We have the SpongeBob layer, and now we have the watermark layer. Here's how you change the name of this layer. Right here where it says layer 1, I'm just going to double click and type in watermark. And like I said, we'll just forget about that for right now. Actually, I'll just go ahead and turn it off. I think everybody should go ahead and turn it off. And you just turn it off by hitting the little eyeball that it indicates layer visibility. That's what it told me. Okay, the next step is we need to find a background for SpongeBob. It's not one of the requirements, but you need to do it. So I'm just going to walk you through it. It's really easy to do. We're going to go back to the internet, open up a new tab, just type in SpongeBob background. Hopefully the web filter isn't that restrictive. You can add any background you want. It doesn't have to be a SpongeBob background. I just prefer those just to show you. So I'll use this one right here. You click on it once, so it pops up like this. Going to right click, copy image. Now I'm going to go back to Photoshop and go to edit, paste, and you can see it paste right on top. That's fine. I'm going to go to edit, free transform. Now I don't want this to show up, so I'll just move that over. I don't want the Nickelodeon to show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So view, zoom out, and you might have to do this too, so you can see all this canvas space around there. And then I'm just going to stretch it like so until those, move out of the way. If you want that in there, you can move it in there. I don't think I want it in there, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Alright, again, to get rid of this box, you either hit the arrow key up here or you hit enter on your keyboard. And now I'm going to name this layer, and here's how you name it again. I'm just going to double click where it says layer 1 and type in the word background. Okay, now I'm going to drag that down to the very bottom. So now it looks like he's standing there, except it looks like he's standing on those sea anemones. So I'm going to move the background just the slightest over. Jeez. This way. I guess I will have that thing in there. Alright, right about there. Okay. So I don't want to have all this space around here, so I'm going to go up to view, fit on screen, so I can see the whole picture. So that's perfect. That's what I want. We're going to go back to the requirements. Must blink at least twice. So before I even add all the, the timeline, because you can see the timeline's not up yet. I'm not even worried about that. For some animation, you have to set it up first before you start the animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, and everybody needs to do this. I'm going to go up to layer. You're going to go to new, and you're going to type in, layer, new, and then choose layer. So layer, new, layer, click it. This is going to pop up. Right where it says layer 1, you're going to type in the word blink. So this will be your blink layer, and just hit OK. So there's your blink layer. The only problem is it's underneath SpongeBob. It's got to be on top of SpongeBob. So watch what I do. I'm going to click on this, drag it up above SpongeBob, and let go. So now I know blink is over SpongeBob. Because otherwise, if whatever I do, if it was underneath SpongeBob, you wouldn't see it. So that's why it's got to be on top. So it's on top of SpongeBob. So now what we need to do, we need to basically color over his eyes with that same yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my zoom tool, which is right here, and then click and drag till it's about this size right here. I'm just using my scroll on my mouse to get it more centered and maybe move that over. Alright, so now we have it centered. We need to color over the eyes. So I'm going to use my brush tool, which is right here. And in case you can't see it, there might be a pencil there or one of these brushes. Usually you're going to see the brush tool right there. So there's a brush tool. Alright, it's way too big, so I need to make this brush way smaller. So since we all have the same file, I would strongly suggest getting about between a 30 and 50 brush size. And you can see if I color right now, it's whatever color is right there. It's black over white. So I don't need that color. I need a yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this little black box over here to bring up the color picker. Now it'll be near impossible to try to match that yellow. It's gonna, you know, it's a little bit off. There's an easy way to do this. All right, so I hit the color picker, and then if you notice when I move my mouse out here, there's a little eyedropper. That eyedropper is a lifesaver. So I'm going to click on this yellow right here, and it goes right to that exact yellow that you need. So once you click right there, it'll go to the yellow that you need. Click OK. Now use your brush. And you can see now it blends a lot better. It looks seamless. I'm going to color over all of this right here. Now be very, very careful around this edge part. So you might have to zoom in even more. So I'm going to get my zoom tool, zoom in, and go back up to my brush. I'm going to even make the size even smaller because I want to be really precise around here. So click, 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 click. I'm going very slow. Here, like that. You want to leave the red cheek. You don't need any of that. A little tip that will help you, and so you don't have to zoom out and zoom back in, is, and you can try this. I'm going to hold down the space bar on my laptop, and this little hand pops up. Now this only works if you are using a mouse. So I let go of the space bar. I push the space bar, this little hand pops up. So when you hold down the space bar, you can click and drag and move it over so you can stay zoomed in. And then when you let go of the space bar, it goes back to the brush. So that's a handy little shortcut you guys should learn. Just be very, very careful. Again, if you're not using a mouse, it would be very, very beneficial to use a mouse. So I'm going to carefully color over his eyeballs right here. Okay, so that's good. Now to zoom out, you can just go to View, Fit on Screen. So his eyes are gone, but it doesn't look like he's blinking yet. So here's where it takes some practice, and just in case you mess up and maybe you go like that and you mess up, don't forget you can always go to Edit, Undo, and it'll undo your last mark. And if you really screw up, you can go to Edit, Step Backward, and step backward, step backward, step backward until because actually Control Alt Z, and you see how that works. It brought it back. So I don't want to do that. So I want to go back where it was. I'm just showing you that so if you mess up, it's no biggie. You can always edit, undo. All right, so here's the blink. I'm going to zoom in again with the zoom tool to about this much, and this is where you might have to use the edit undo function more than once because it might take you a while to get it just right. Alright, so you're going to get your brush and you're gonna make it black. Here's how you make it black. You know, you can just click on the yellow and make it black. That's one way you can do it, or you just hit those that tiny little black and white icons down there, and that'll automatically make it black and white. So say you have like red and I don't know, green right here. If you hit this little black and white thing right there, boom, goes right to black over white. Alright, so you're going to grab your brush, and I think you want a size around 6. Yeah, you want a 6 brush, hardness at 100%. So, in case I did that too fast, here's your brush. You go up here in the options bar, right where there's a number right here, a little arrow pointing down. You hit that, change your size to 6, and your hardness at 100%. Alright, so I want you to watch how I do this. I'm going over here to the layer window, and I'm going to turn off the eyeballs and turn them on and off, on and off, on and off. And you can see it looks like he's blinking, but he doesn't look like he's blinking. It just looks like his eyes come on and they go off. But notice where his eyeballs start. It starts right here and ends right there, and it's circular. So the first eyelid should be from here to here. Now you can't see this, but on my laptop screen, I'm literally putting my finger on the screen to know that, okay, I know that this line I'm getting ready to make, and you're probably wondering what's he talking about, needs to start right about here and then end right about here. So I'll turn this on and off a couple times to kind of get that memory in my head where I need to stop. So right about there, on, off, on, off. All right, so I'm gonna turn the blink layer on. I got my brush. I'm still pointing on my screen. I have my finger on the screen, and I'm gonna make a little line from here to where it ends. So let me see where that. And you can see now I'm gonna use my finger for the other side of the blink. It looks like it's pretty close. It looks like I might need to erase just a little bit right there. So I'm going to do not use the eraser, using the brush. Click on the color picker, move that over to the yellow, click, and just trim that up just a little bit like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, so now I need to do from here to over here to this side. So again, I'm gonna put my finger, literally I'm putting my finger on the screen. You cannot see this. I'm putting it right there, so that's where I know I need to stop. I'm gonna turn the blink layer on. Alright, I'm gonna go over here. My finger's still on the screen. I'm gonna change this to black. I have my brush. Now I know the other eyelid starts right there and ends right there. Okay. So now if I turn this on and off, it looks like he's blinking. But I don't know, it still doesn't look that cartoony yet. So I did some research, and this is how he looks when he blinks, what I'm getting ready to show you. I mean, it looks passable. If I just kept doing this, it looks like he's blinking. But I want to add something more to it. So again, the eyeball function is always very good about seeing what's there and what's not there. So I turn on the blink layer. I still get my brush. It's still at 6, except I'm actually going to turn it down to about 3. The wrong way there. Now watch what I do. I'm going to put a little mark right there. A little mark right there. It looks like a backward C, a backward C. Now on this side I'm going to do almost a regular C right there. One right there. And then over here, backward C, backward C. Over here, regular C, regular C. So now it gave that eyelid a little, I guess, a little depth. You know, made it look real. So now when I turn off over here on the blink layer, now it looks like he's blinking. Pretty cool, huh? I think it's cool. I mean, I could do this stuff all day. But anyways, so we have the blink layer. All right, we're good with that. We'll turn that off just for now. And we'll go back to the requirements. Must move arms up to mouth at least once. We're going to skip that for now, and we're going to go to must move eyeballs. Okay. Tween or no tween. Don't worry about the tweens yet. We're just setting up the animation. You have to set up the animation before you start, you know, making your frames and stuff. So we're going to skip 2, go to 3, must have eyeballs. Alright, so the eyeballs are actually fixed. You can see if I turn off all the layers except SpongeBob, the eyeballs are part of this layer. They need to be their own separate layer. And if you recall from our last project with the digital signature animation, how you had to separate your signature, your PNG signature, into 3 separate layers, it's the same kind of principle. So in case you forget, here's what we're going to do. We're going to zoom in. So I'm going to get the zoom tool. And just in case, like, the bell's getting ready to ring and you never know, okay, I don't know what to save it as. I'm just saying this just to throw it out there. In case the bell ever rings and you're not finished, always go to File, Save As. Make sure that says Photoshop. And make sure, you know, you name it as, I don't know, Day 1 or something to that effect. So you know, okay, that's the one I need to open. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now just so I know, okay, I have this, you know, all good to go. So I hit save, hit OK, always hit OK. And now you'll see up here it changed to day 1. That's good practice to get into when when the bell's getting ready to ring, is just save your work as whatever day it is, and then that way you know the next day what you need to open up. Okay, so back to the eyeballs. We zoomed in. We need to cut out each one separately. So we're actually going to use the elliptical marquee tool. And in case you can't find it, it's the second one down. You hold your mouse button down on your mouse till this sub menu pops up, and then you choose elliptical marquee tool. Now this takes some getting used to. It's good to, you know, practice a little bit. You click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. You see it, there's a selection there. Click and drag, click and drag. So what we need to do is we need to click and drag exactly over this eyeball. So I'm going to start like right here in the white of the eye. Click, drag, and I'm trying to get it about the same size. And that's about the same size right there. But as you can see, it's not centered over the eyeball. So here's how you move it over there. I'm going to click in the middle of the selection. I'm not clicking out here. I'm clicking right here, and you can actually move it. Now you can see I was pretty close, but I missed some of the black. So there's a cool function to get it just right. I'm going to right click on this and go to Transform Selection. Transform Selection. I cannot stress that enough. Go to Transform Selection, and then you're going to gently move that up. Gently move these boxes over till it's got all of the black. You can just have a little bit of fringe white showing. It's not the end of the world if you do. Just try to get it as close to the edge of that black as possible. And then once you do, hit the arrow key right up here, or hit enter on your keyboard, and you can see the selection. If we zoom in just a little bit more, the selection is all the way around it. So what you're going to do, we have the selection around the eyeball. You're going to go up to layer. You're going to go to new. And you're going to go to layer via cut. And if you look over at the layer window, you'll see after I select it, it pops up as its own layer, layer 1. So you definitely need to immediately rename that layer. So in case you forget how to rename layers, you just double click where it says layer 1. It highlights blue, and we'll call this left eyeball. Now when I turn it on and off, and notice there's only 2 layers on, so make sure only 2 layers on, because you can see the gray and white checkerboard underneath. You can see it's its own layer now. So I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to select the SpongeBob layer, highlight the SpongeBob layer. I clicked on the SpongeBob layer, it's highlighted. I need to color that in white, because right now there's a big gaping hole in his eye. So I'm going to go over here to the brush, and I'm going to go down here and make it black over white. If I color that in right now, it's going to be black. You don't want that. Edit, undo. You want it white. So I'm going to switch to white. Those little arrows switch back and forth. So I want a white brush, except this is going to take forever to color that in, so I need to go up here to the options bar, make my size a little bigger, and then I'm going to color that hole in. Okay, so now when I turn on the left eyeball and I turn it on and off, it's white underneath. You're probably thinking, okay, why did we just do that? Well, if you look back here, must move eyeballs. So what's the word? What's the verb here? Move. I'm going to go back to Photoshop, click on my move tool. Now the eye moves independently, eyeball moves independently from the eyeball. So now we can manipulate this in the animation. We can have, his eyes go from cross-eyed or up, and you can even have them go wherever you want, really. So I'm just going to move it right here where it was. Okay, so the left eyeball is good. Now we need to do the right eyeball. So I'm going to still zoomed in. I'm still zoomed in. If you aren't zoomed in, just go ahead and get zoomed in like me. And again, you need to be on the SpongeBob layer. So make sure you're on the SpongeBob layer. It's highlighted gray. I'm going to go back up here to the elliptical marquee tool. And you've already done it, so hopefully this will be just a refresh. I'm just going to click right up here in the white. Click, drag. Let go. I'm going to grab the middle of this selection. Oh wow, that was pretty good. And try to position it over the eyeball. Now it's not perfect, so I'm going to right click and go to transform selection. Not free transform, transform selection, and move it till it's looks better. That was almost perfect, so that was pretty sick on my part. Alright, so now I have it where I want it. You can either hit enter on the keyboard or go up here and hit the check mark. So now you have this totally isolated on the SpongeBob layer. Once you do that, go to layer, new, layer via cut, and you can see right here it made its new layer. Immediately double click on that where it says layer 1 and name it right eyeball. Okay, once you get done with that, turn it off because we need to color that hole in. And you can turn off the left eyeball too if you want. It's totally up to you. I'll just leave it on. So I need to color it in, but right now I can't color it in because I'm not on the right layer. So make sure you go back to the SpongeBob layer. It's highlighted gray. Go back to your brush on your toolbar, and then make sure that's white on your color picker. And color that part in. And I'm going to turn on this eyeball. Now we have the eyeballs ready to move for step 3. Now we're going to go back up to step 2, and we're going to figure out how to do these arms. Alright, so I'm right here. I got the eyeballs, they're named, I got the blink layer, I got my watermark, my background. So the only ones that really should be on right now are left eyeball, right eyeball, SpongeBob. If you have the background on, that's fine too. I would turn the blink and the watermark off though, that's just me. So we need to zoom out, so we'll go to View, Fit on Screen. And now we need to isolate this arm right here. We need to cut out this arm. And this one is where it gets a little tricky. So I'm going to grab the zoom tool, and you should too. And we're going to zoom in right about this size right there. Let me zoom out just a smidge. There we go. So when we cut out the arm, you definitely want to turn off the background layer. So forget what I said. The only layers that should be on right now are left eyeball, right eyeball, and SpongeBob. Definitely turn off your background layer because that will confuse you. You're going to choose my favorite tool of all, the polygonal lasso tool. And before you start, lassoing around it, I want you to watch how I do it. So I'm going to start up here at the top of his arm where the black is, and just very carefully go around the edge. And when you get out here, you don't have to be as precise because all this gray and white checkerboard is clear. So I can go way out here if I want, and nothing's going to happen. But when I go back in to where there's something right there, you have to be precise. So make sure you do what I do. Click very carefully around the black. Now when you get down to the bottom of his pants, this is imperative, everybody. You don't have to be so precise. And I can't see the rest of his hand, so that's where that shortcut comes in, where you hold down the space bar. I'm holding down the space bar, I'm still holding it down, and with my mouse I click and drag up so I can see the rest of his hand. Now there's nothing over here, that's all clear, so I don't have to be precise around his hand, and you guys shouldn't be either. So watch how I do this. Click, 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 click. Now when I get back up to the pants, that's where I need to be precise again. So right about here is where you should be going really slow and very carefully around the black. So I'm going to go up here like this. Obviously I need to hold down the space bar on my keyboard so the hand pops up. And then I click and drag down so I can see the rest of my selection. Alright. Once I let go of the space bar, I have control of polygonal lasso tool again. So click, click, very carefully, click, 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 very, very carefully. When you get around to the top where you started, you double click really fast. Now in case you mess up and you double click too soon or something, always remember you can always go to select, deselect, and start over basically. So now that you saw me do that, you go ahead and try to select around, and remember when you get to the bottom of his pants right here, you don't have to be as precise around here, but you do have to be as very precise when you go back into his body. Okay, so go ahead, trace around that. Alright, once you're done, it's the same thing as the left eyeball and the right eyeball. We'll go to Layer, New, Layer via Cut, and you immediately name that arm. Just arm's fine. And just click once to get out of there. Now if I turn this arm off, which you should too, you'll notice it's got a big gaping hole and we need to fill that in. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go back to the SpongeBob layer, everybody. Everybody get the SpongeBob layer. And you're going to get your brush tool and see how big the brush is. We're going to try to do that olive green right there. Connect that line. Except that brush size is way too big. So let's see where this brush size needs to be. If I move it down, probably around, I would say 5. Now if I brush right now, it's going to be white, so I don't want to do that. Edit, undo. So I'm going to click where the white is, right here on my color picker. Click on that. And move my color eyedropper right here on this green. Alright, so it changed to the whatever greenish, brownish, olive color right there. Click OK. Now very carefully, I'm going to draw a line from there to there. And if you mess up, you can always edit, undo, and color it back in. For the next part, I gotta color this in with that color. So I'm gonna go back to the color picker, choose this green right here, or whatever color that is, yellow. Hit OK, and very carefully color that in. Again, if you mess up, edit, undo. So that's why I want you to get it nice and slow. So I'm gonna color this back in. Making sure I don't leave any of that gray and white checkerboard showing. So that looks pretty good. Alright, for this black line right here, this is where it gets a little tricky because you have to be really precise with your brush stroke. So we want to switch to black. I still think that's a good size. Now there's a trick to make an exactly straight line. I'm going to, and you guys should do this too, so watch how I do it first before you attempt it. When you pause my video and you attempt it on yours, I'm going to click once, right? I'm going to try to guesstimate right about here. I'm going to click once right here, and then I'm going to hold down the shift key. I'm holding down the shift key, and if I move down, it makes a perfect straight black line, and I can go up and down a couple times, to get that nice size, and then I let go. So that's how you do a straight line. That only works directly up and down and then side to side. So diagonals you're just going to have to eyeball. Alright, so once I did the straight black line, I'm going to go here and I'm going to try to fix that part right there. Don't worry if you get a little brown because we can always color over that. And then I'll try to do this one right there. Go once or twice. Now we get to color this part in. Now, since we closed it off, there's actually a really easy way to color that in. You'll just go over here to your color picker. I'm going to click on this black. I'll move this. I'm going to try to get that shade of blue. So I got that. Now instead of, you could color it in with a brush. If you're comfortable doing that, that's fine. But if you want to be introduced to a new tool, there's a tool called the paint bucket tool, and it might be underneath your gradient layer, so you might have to hold down your mouse button until that sub menu comes up. Choose the paint bucket tool, and then watch how this works. I'm just going to click in this empty space, and it kind of colors it all in. I've got to click multiple times. There you go. Alright, so it's all colored in. Same thing down here. I'm going to click on this blue, put my eyedropper over the brown, hit OK, click, and it sees it left a little fringe, so I'll click a couple times, get those spots. Alright, now you can see his belt buckle was supposed to be like right here, colored black, and I missed it. There we go, I hit it one more time. And if you're a perfectionist like me, you might want to switch back to black and get your brush to make that line a little, thicker right there. Alright, so back to the buckle, or the belt. It's missing a little square part right here. Easy way to fix that. Get your polygonal lasso tool. I told you I love this tool. This tool's great. I'm going to click right here, the edge of this box, and I'm just going to hold it over here to where I think it should end, which is probably right about here. Click, 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 double click. And you see it makes a selection for you. The great thing about this is, if I was to get my brush, which you should get your black brush. I'm going to make it black. Doesn't matter what size you do. I'll make my size 12. Now if I color over here, I'm trying to color over here, nothing's happening. It will only color in this selection. See that? Oh, it's perfect. Alright, so I colored that back in. I want to get rid of this selection. A lot of people forget to deselect. They try to do something and I can't do this. It's because you have something selected. So go to select, deselect, and you might want to learn that shortcut, which is Control D. Alright, so we colored that part in. We have the arm. Now if I turn the arm layer on, you can see it's all by itself. So let's go to View, Fit on Screen, and you'll just have to take my word for it. We need to duplicate the arm at least 4 times. And you're probably wondering, what are you talking about, duplicate? Well, in animation, when something like this moves independently, like those can move independently and it'll make sense. But for some reason, in this animation, we need to duplicate this arm at least 4 times. So this is how you do that. You're just going to have to take my word for it. I'm going to go over, my arm is highlighted and turned on. It's highlighted gray. I'm going to right click right there in the gray and go to duplicate layer and click OK. It looks like nothing happened, but if you look closely, there's 2 arms directly on top of each other. So the arm copy, I want you to rename arm 2. And this is going to look a little strange, but you're just going to have to trust me. Arm 2, you're going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and I'll actually zoom in so you guys can see this. Edit, Free Transform, and if you notice, there's a little circle, it's called a pivot point, right in the middle of your selection. You can actually move that. Here's what I want you to do. After you hit Edit Free Transform, I want you to click on that pivot point and then drag it up to right about the top of his shoulder. It's actually called his deltoid, but that's neither here nor there. So when and it's still in Free Transform, I haven't hit the arrow key yet. If you move your mouse out like this, you can see 2 little arrows. My mouse is a black arrow right here, but as I move out over here, you'll see 2 little arrows. I'm going to click and drag up, and you can see it pivots right at that point, which is where you want it to pivot, because that's much like how his arm operates. So make it right about here. And then it looks fuzzy. It's not really. You just haven't transformed it yet. So once you hit the arrow key, it'll look crisp. All right. So now the next step, right click. We're going to duplicate the layer again. Hit OK. And you're going to go to Edit, Free Transform. You're going to move this pivot point once again right about where that other one was. And then after you do that, you move your mouse off the box so you see the two little arrows. You click and drag up so it looks like it's moving up. So right about there. And then once you do that, hit enter. And then you're going to rename this arm 3. So double click right where it says arm 2 copy and type in arm 3. And click off into the gray to get rid of that. Now we're going to duplicate this one more time. Now it looks like he's got 4 arms. Don't worry about that. You'll see why we're doing it here in a second. So I'm going to duplicate it again. So right click on this layer, go to duplicate layer, click OK, edit, retransform. Once again, take this middle pivot point and move it right about there. Move your mouse off the box where you see the two little arrows. Click and drag up to right about there. Now you can make, I would say maybe make another one, but it's totally up to you. You can just do 4. I'm going to do 5, so if you want to do 5 with me, that's fine. I'm going to hit the little check mark because I got it where I want it. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit. I'm going to rename this arm 4. Click off into the gray. Now I'm going to duplicate arm 4. So right click, duplicate layer, click OK, edit, retransform, move that little pivot point to the top of his shoulder. Move my mouse where you can see 2 little arrows, click, drag all the way up to his mouth. Now I hit the little check mark, or you can hit enter on your keyboard. Alright, so now we have 5 arms. If you have 4, that's fine. You can space them out till it covers his mouth. So you want to go to view, fit on screen, and it looks really weird right now, but this is how animation works. We haven't even started our animation yet. So if you turn on all your layers except, even blink, you can see that this is all we've done so far. So I'm going to turn off blink, turn off the watermark. I can leave the background on now, I believe. You don't need to turn that off. I'm going to go back to my requirements. So I did the blink layer. I moved the arms. I haven't moved them yet. I'm just setting up the animation. I did the eyeballs. We have the watermark in there. So now the last thing we need to be worried about is must have speech bubble dissolve in and dissolve out with text. So we need to make a speech bubble. So we're going to go back to Photoshop and we'll put the speech bubble right here. It can be, whatever, a speech bubble or a speech thought. So what you need to do is, first things first, we need to have white over black. So, click on the black and the little tiny black and white ones if there's different colors, and switch it so white is over black. Once you do that, you're just going to move right up to here to whatever is right there. It could be the rectangle tool, it could be the custom shape tool, whatever it is. Hold down your mouse button until you see the custom shape tool, because you want the custom shape tool. Alright, now you're going to go up here and you'll see on your options bar, this is the options bar, it's whatever last tool you use, which is probably the copyright, trademark, or registered. you're going to click on this little arrow. Now if you don't have all of these, that means you need to add them in. And in case you haven't done that, this is how you do it. You go to this little gear icon and go to all and just hit OK, and it'll populate all these. Okay, so say you can't see them all like I was. It's an easy thing to do. You just go down here till you see those two little arrows, and then click and drag so you can see all the shapes that that Photoshop has to offer. So we need to add a thought bubble or a speech, and you can see they're all right there. Talk 10, you have all these to choose from. So find one you like and you click on it, and then you're going to go up here to the options bar and just click off so that that whole box goes away. Here's how the custom shape tool works. You just click, drag, and let go once you get the size you like. Now if you mess up and you make too many like that, that's fine. See, they're highlighted gray. All you gotta do is hit backspace until you get the one you want, and say it's almost perfect. You can always go to edit, retransform path, and get it exactly how you like it. So I have it exactly where I like it. I'm gonna hit the arrow, or the arrow check mark, or you can hit the enter key. Now right now, if we look over at the layer window, there's this little thing right here where it says shape 1, and it's got this kind of blue line around it. That means it's still kind of in vector format, which means you can still blow it up and make it small and it'll still be crisp. But we have it pretty much where we like it. So what I want you to do is, and this is very, very necessary, I'm going to go over here to the gray part on shape 1. This is even before I name it. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to rasterize layer. So make sure you do that, rasterize layer, and then it'll get rid of that blue line, and it'll make it more, I guess, edit friendly. So if you want to make it look cartoony with a black outline, it's really easy fix. I'm going to right click on this gray right here under shape 1, go to blending options, move this down a little bit so I can see it. I'm going to click on the word stroke, not the check mark. Click on the word stroke so it highlights. And right now I have a blue, I want that black. So right where here it says color, because this is highlighted, I'm going to change that to black. Click OK, and then if you want, I would definitely make sure this says outside right there, and then maybe make the size, I'd say about 5. That's minuscule though. You can make it 6, so it's not a big deal. So around 5. Make sure the opacity is at 100%, and all of this is basically the same. And you hit OK. Okay, so we have the speech bubble, but we need it with text. We need to type in something right there. This is where you can personalize it. And if say you put it on a social media page, you can say whatever. So I'm gonna go back to Photoshop, and I'm going to click on the type tool. Now I noticed some of you were choosing the vertical type tool. You do not want to choose that one. You want the horizontal type tool. That's the one that's straight across. And right now, if I was to type, it would be white. So before I do type in anything, I'm going to switch these colors to black, and you noticed up here it changed to black. So make sure you do that. Alright, so you have the type tool selected. Up here in your options bar is where all your fonts are. So we need to find a font that you like. So you just click and choose one that you want. So one that a lot of people use for this, and it's simple, and it's usually what you see on cartoons, is Arial rounded empty bold. So I clicked on that, and you probably want your size to be around, let's see, 36. Yeah. Alright, so I did 36, and all you have to do is just click once after you set this to 36. Just click once, and you can see right now a layer is over here ready to be typed. So you just click once, and you see it flashing, and then you start typing in whatever you want. Mr. Labor is the, and if you hit enter, that best. Oh, I can't type. Oh my lord. Best. T E E. And don't worry if it's not centered, and maybe I'll do dot dot dot. You can see it goes off. Do not worry about that. If you want it centered, and it's still in type mode, I haven't done anything, you can click right here where you started your letters, and then click and drag and highlight that all black, I guess, and you can change it to centered or right justified or left justified, which it was. I'm gonna go center. So it's centered, but it's not in the middle of the bubble. So what you need to do is go to edit, retransform, and then you just click and move that over, and you can make it a little taller like this so it fits in there better. Get the 3 dots, okay. And then to get rid of that box, you just hit the check mark up there. So we have that. We forgot to name our thought bubble. So right where it says shape 1, I'm going to double click and turn it into talk bubble. Just click one side of there. So right now, if I turn on all my layers, you should have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 layers. Around 12 and 13 layers. If you did 5 arms like me, you have 13 layers. Okay, so now we have it set up, and we are ready to animate SpongeBob. Okay, so we're ready to animate. And again, we're going to look at the requirements. Must blink at least twice. Must move arms up to mouth at least once. Must move eyeballs. Must have speech bubble dissolve in and dissolve out with text. Must have watermark dissolve in and in. Must be more than 20 frames. Okay, so we'll start with the blinking. But first, we need to make sure our timeline is up. So you need to go to Window, Timeline to pop that up, and it covers up SpongeBob, so you need to go to View, Fit on Screen, so you can see everything. Alright, so this is our first frame, but we don't want to have them start blinking in the first frame, so we will turn off the blink, turn off the watermark, definitely. Turn off your speech, turn off your talk bubble, turn off all your arms except one. So this should be your first frame. So, okay, this is your first frame. So we need to add a second frame. And this is where you go down here on your timeline and you hit the little duplicate selected frame. Now, in case you forget how to create frame animation, say I close this, Window, Timeline, They're still showing up. I'll just delete these. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Make sure it's a create frame animation. You'll see if this has a number 1 right here, you know you have a frame animation. So you click on the duplicate, and if you hit play, nothing happens. And you definitely want to change where it says once to forever. So when you hit play, it just constantly cycles. So it doesn't look like anything's happening. So I'm going to hit stop, and you're going to choose your second frame. We want to have them blink. So I'm going to turn on the blink layer in the second frame. Now when I hit play, it looks like he's blinking extremely fast. And it just looks like he has got severe dry eye or something in his... So we definitely need to slow this down. So I'm going to hit stop. You can see they're both 0 seconds, and that's really fast. So I would strongly suggest changing the first frame to something like, I don't know, 0.5, and then changing the second frame not to no delay, but have it be something, maybe 0.2. All right, so 5 seconds, or not 5 seconds, half a second, so 0.5, 0.2. Now when I hit play, make sure that says forever. So that's him blinking. In fact, maybe we should change that to 1 second. So I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to change the first frame to 1 second. Now let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's much better. Yeah, he's just blinking. Nice. All right, so you hit stop. I'm going to go on my second frame. I've clicked on my second frame. I want to duplicate that. And notice there was no tweening. That's why it says no tween. You don't need to tween because it's just a simple blink. So I'm going to turn off the blink and maybe make this, 0.5 seconds. No, maybe make it 1 second again. And then, so we'll see what that looks like. So hit play. And you can see it cycle. So it looks more arbitrary blinking now. It doesn't look like it's so perfectly timed. All right, so that's good. It looks like he's blinking twice, but in actuality, he's only blinking once because it repeats. So that's why it's kind of misleading. So I'm going to hit stop. I'm on the third. Make sure the third frame is selected. And we're going to duplicate that. And we're going to make him blink again. And now we're going to change this to maybe make it 0.1 second so he blinks a little faster this time. So let's see what that looks like when we hit play. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So I'm going to hit stop. Make sure we click on the last layer, which is last frame, which is 4. We're going to duplicate that. And now his eyelid, it will turn off the blink because his eyeballs were closed. Except now, and this is where the arms come in. If you look over here, must move arms up to mouth at least once. So we'll just get that out of the way. And you can see it's 0.1 seconds, so don't worry about that right now. But you have his first arm right here, and that's this layer. So he blinks. I go to 5. We turn the blink layer off. Now, on this frame, I'm going to turn off this arm layer, the eyeball, and I'm going to turn on arm 2. Alright, so now I'm going to hit play to see what that looks like. and it looks like his arm's starting to move there a little bit, like he's got a little twitch. So hit stop, and you're going to be on your last frame, so make sure your last frame's selected. And here's where you get to do, you know, be creative, because obviously he blinked twice, so you met that requirement. But if he doesn't blink at all through the rest of this animation, it's going to look kind of weird. So I would say every now and then when you start duplicating these frames, remember to turn on and off the blink layer, because that will make it look a lot better. So right now he's not blinking, and you don't need him to blink in every other one either. You can just wait a couple and then turn it on. So like say maybe frame 9, turn back on. Alright, so he's got 5. So 4 to 5. Alright, I need to duplicate 5. I'm going to leave his eyes on. So 5 and 6 are basically the same. They are the same. But 6 and in frame 6, I'm going to turn off arm 2, and now I'm going to turn on arm 3. I think you see where I'm going with this. So now when I hit play, blinks, and his arm's starting to move up. So hit stop. I'm going to choose the last frame. I'm going to duplicate that, because the 3 steps are duplicate, perform an action, and then if you need to, you tween, but we don't need to tween right now. So 6 and 7 are the exact opposite. I need to turn off arm 3 and turn on arm 4. Alright, I'm going to duplicate that layer. I'm not even going to hit play yet. I think it's time for him to blink, so I'll turn on the blink layer. I'm going to turn off arm 4. Turn on arm 4 copy. I guess I never did name it, so I will do that right now. I'll call it arm 5. Alright. And then I will duplicate that, because you can see what it looks like in frame 8. Frame 8 and frame 9 are the exact same. I'm going to turn off the blink layer, because the blink layer should only really be on for 1 frame at a time. And then I'm going to have his arm go back down. So now I turn off arm 5, turn on arm 4. And here's where you got to keep track of everything, because if you notice over here, we already moved the arms up to mouth at least once, but now we're going to move the eyeballs. So I'm going back to style. I'm going back to Photoshop. And so we blinked, and this is 9. And now I'm going to click on the left eyeball. So you got to keep track of all kinds of movements. This is where, you know, your problem-solving skills come in. I'm on his left eyeball, and what tool moves things? That's right. It's the move tool right there. So I'm going to click on the move tool. I'm on the left eyeball. I'll move that over here just a little bit. I'm going to click on the right eyeball. Maybe I want it to move out this way. So it goes from this to this to this, and you can see what you need to do between 8 and 9 and 9 and 10, but I haven't added 10 yet, so I need to duplicate number 9, and don't worry about the timings yet, because you can always go back and, you know, switch those. So 9 and 10 are the same. I'm going to start with the right eyeball, maybe move it just a little bit up like that. I'm going to click on the left eyeball layer. Let me put that down here a little bit. And I definitely got to turn off the arm 4 layer and turn on arm 3. So now when I switch back and forth between 9 and 10, you can see his arm's moving down and his eyeballs are moving. Okay, and I'm not going to hit play to see what it looks like yet, because I kind of like, you know, setting it all up and then going back later and changing the times and whatnot. So 9 and 10. I'm going to duplicate 10 and maybe move his left eyeball back up here. This is where you can, you know, have it working I've seen all kinds of clever stuff that students do with the eyeballs over the years. So, you know, maybe move them in, move them out. I don't care. Now I'm gonna click on the right eyeball. He's gonna go. Try to make it look like, okay, he's back in focus. Turn off arm 3. Turn on arm 2 because it's going back down. Duplicate. So 11 and 12 are basically the same. I'm going to have them blink right here. And notice the blink layer is on top of the left and right eyeball. So that's imperative that when you set this up, hopefully it was that way. The only thing I need to set up here, because I don't need to move the eyeballs, is move or turn on arm, the original arm, and turn off arm 2. Alright, so let's see how that looks. I'm going to hit play. Blinks, blinks, move his arms up. You can see it happens really fast where his eyes move. And you can always change that speed right here. So we'll hit stop and say you want these 3 right here to go a little slower. So I'll change that to maybe 0.2 and 0.2 and 0.2, and then that'll still be 0.1. So when I hit play, let's just slow it down just enough. Alright, so I'm on 12. I'm going to duplicate 12 and turn off the blink layer. Maybe move his eyeballs back to their original position, you know, somewhere to that effect. Left eyeball, I'm going to click on the right eyeball. Move that down right there. And I'm just going to leave his arms alone for now. So bing, bang. Maybe make that, I don't know, 0.5. And then duplicate that. And you can see when I duplicate it, it goes to 0.5. So you'll definitely have to go in and change that if you do that. It'll make it 0.2, so the next time I duplicate it, it'll be 0.2. Alright, so let's go back to the requirements. Must blink at least twice. We did that. We moved the arms up to mouth at least once. We moved the eyeballs. Now we have to have the speech bubble dissolve in and dissolve out with text, and that's where you can tween. This is, and you can see I didn't tween with the eyeballs, so you really don't even need to tween the eyeballs. You can if you want. It's totally up to you if you remember how to do that. Alright, so I will show you, in case you forgot, how to tween with the speech bubble dissolve and the text. So we'll go back here. 13 and 14 are exactly the same, as I can tell by switching back and forth. So I'm on 14. And I'm going to turn on the talk bubble and turn on whatever I typed, and it goes from 13 to 14 really fast. So this is what you want to tween. So I'm on 14, and in case you forget how to tween, you go over here to where it says tweens animation frames. So you click on those that little icon right there. This is gonna pop up. This is where you add a number. I would, you know, I wouldn't go crazy with it, so I would stay under 15 or say under 20. So I'll go 9 and hit OK. Now when I hit play, blinks, moves his hands up, eyes move, and now this is starting to come in, and you can see it's going excruciatingly slow down here on the timeline. So I'm going to hit stop, and I'm going to see right where the text starts coming in and make it way faster. So maybe 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Make all these 0.1, 0.1. I want to make the last one though, you know, stay a little bit longer. which is the last frame, which is this one right here. So we need to make that 0.5. So now when I hit play, it'll go a lot. It'll dissolve in a lot faster. Bam. All right. So hit stop. I'm going to choose 23 again, and you can see I'm already over 20 frames. So I've already made it past 6. I mean, it's really, really easy to get that requirement. I've had people, again, do like 400 frames for this little exercise. They really like animation. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop. Alright, so now that's on. I want to dissolve it away now. So 23 has not been duplicated yet. My last frame has not been duplicated, so I'm going to duplicate it. And now I'm going to turn off whatever I typed and the speech bubble. And I'm going to tween that. And I'll do 9 again. Okay. And you can see, look down here, they're already 0.5. Now I know I want this one to be 0.5, but when it starts fading out, and you can see it, you can see the difference between the two. This is when it starts to fade. I want to make that go a lot faster, so maybe I'll do no delay, no delay, no delay, no delay to all these, so it doesn't, you know, take forever for it to go away. No delay, no delay. Okay. So when I hit play, this is what it looks like. He blinks once, blinks twice. There's another blink in there. And then that goes away. I definitely think he needs another blink, so I'm going to hit stop. I'm on the last frame. The last frame is selected. I'm going to duplicate that frame. So 33, 34, basically the same. Turn on the blink layer. And now, yeah, I'll just turn on the blink layer. Just make it a really fast one, so 0.1. I'm going to duplicate that, turn off the blink layer, and then the last requirement is must have watermark dissolve in at the end. So we're at the end. He's where he needs to be. So he blinked. He's got his eyes open. Now I'm going to duplicate this last frame because I want there to be some kind of buffer between his blink. So I'm going to duplicate that. So 35 and 36 are basically the same. I'm on the last frame. I'm going to turn on the watermark. So it goes from this to this. And I'm going to tween the watermark. So click on the tween. Type in a number. I'm just going to leave it at 9. And it's going pretty fast, so you can change these to whatever time you want, but it'll dissolve in kind of fast. So let's hit play. Okay, it's blinked twice, his eyeballs moved, his speech came in, faded out, and now the signature faded in. It looked like it took forever there, but it's probably just the RAM in my computer. I can make it faster. Maybe that'll make it run a little smoother. That's totally your call. Now this was the bare minimum that I'm looking for. I've had people that, again, that really like to do this, that they can spend hours on it, and you know, they make their arms move up more and move the eyeballs out, and they even add you know, custom shapes to it, like maybe a hand or something. I mean, it's totally your call. I'm just looking for the blinking twice, the moving arms up to mouth at least once, must move eyeballs, must have speech bubble, must have watermark. We've already killed the 20 frames, so this is the bare minimum. At least if you followed along with me, you should have exactly what I have, and that's awesome. So now you're ready to save it. And this is where the last requirement comes in to save it. And this will be go to file, export, and blah blah blah. This will be up on the board, but I'm just gonna walk you through it. You're gonna go to file, export, file, export, not file save as, file, export. You're gonna go to save for web legacy. This is gonna pop up. You definitely do not want that to say JPEG. I cannot scream that enough. That's got to say GIF. So right here, change that to GIF. Alright, so, and you can see it kind of changes its quality, but that's fine. You're going to hit save. Make sure you save it, you know, on your desktop or somewhere where you know where it is, basically. So when you submit it, you know where it is. I'm saving it in my folder. And I'm going to save it as I can spell SpongeBob Animation. And then my name, so I know it's me. You hit save. It'll save up. Then you're going to go to the internet. And you're going to go to week 7 through 9. Go to the SpongeBob Squarepants animation folder. Right down here at the bottom, SpongeBob animation submission. You're going to click on that. Here's the submit assignment. Click on that. Then you're going to click on the file. And you're going to navigate to your desktop wherever you saved it. And you'll see it. It'll say SpongeBob animation with your name. And you know it's right because you see the item type is a GIF file. So you just click on that, hit open. It's going to upload. You hit submit. And then if you want to check, you just click on it to see what it looks like. And it should play. If not, it's no biggie. It just means it's still loading, but it will play if you download it. Maybe it will. There's an easier way to check. If you go to your folder, desktop, and there it is right there. You right click on it. And you go to open with and just choose like Internet Explorer. You'll see it. You'll play. It's like playing on the internet. It's not playing on the internet, but it could if you upload it to your social media account. Like you could email this to yourself and put it on Instagram or whatever, and it'll play forever. And this is something that you created from scratch.